Hello guys, welcome back. So in today's lecture, we are going to understand about the sliding window pattern. Okay, so it is also one of the most famous and most well-known pattern which we use in our day-to-day life, right? In programming, not in our actual day-to-day life. So let's quickly see the definition and then we will understand it and then we will see a couple of questions related to it. Okay. So what is a sliding window pattern? A sliding window pattern is a sublist or subarray that runs over an underlying data structure. The data structure is typically iterable and ordered, okay, such as an array or string. Okay, so based on some certain conditions, the window increases or closes and a new window is created, right? So it normally encompasses searching of for the longest, shortest or optimal sequence that satisfies the given condition. Okay, so this is the complex definition, right? So most of you I think didn't got the idea like what I just said. I'm just reading it, right? So now let me tell you what a sliding window actually is. So first thing you have to keep in mind, it only works in the iterables, right? If you have a string, if you have an array, it will work with those only in those data structures which we can iterate through. Okay, second thing is we create a small window to basically keep track of the subset of that big data structure, or in simple words, if we take an example of array, we can keep track of a small piece of that array or sub array from that big array, right? We create a window to check the particular sub array. Okay, and we move the window like right, left, or we grow the window and we shrink the window according to our conditions, according to our problem statement. Okay, so to understand it better, let's see here. Okay, so I already have this thing created. I'm not basically familiar with this Google Jamboard a lot, so please don't mind if you don't find it comfortable, right? So yeah, so let's say we got a question where we have to find the sum, like maximum sum of three numbers in the array. Okay, and in that array we got some numbers, they are totally unsorted and we have to find the maximum sum of pair of three numbers. Okay, so how we will do that? Normally what you will do, normally you create a for loop, right, which will iterate through each element. Okay, and then you will run inside that for loop, you will run another for loop. Okay, and in that for loop you basically find the next two digits and then sum them together like this one, and you store it in some variable. Okay, so let's say you got 5 plus 3 plus 2. Okay, so you got 10, so you stored it in some variable called temp sum. Okay, for example, right? And then you in the another nested for loop. One second guys, I think just give me a second, let me quickly see why it is I'm unable to like select uh, the the window, right? One second, just yeah, now I'm able to select. I won't release it now. Okay, so now you got a sum which you have stored in the variable. Okay, now in the second for loop, which is the nested for loop, you basically you will basically run another loop, right? This is how loop works, and then you will find the sum, you will do the sum again, and then you check whether the temp sum which you have created, if it is bigger than this one, then you simply return it. Otherwise what you will do, you will simply update the temp sum with this one. Okay, then if you still didn't find the sum which is greater than the one which you have updated, then you move on to the next loop, and then again you will do the sum of these three numbers, right? This 5 8 1. Okay, so I'll keep it like this right now. Okay, like 5 8 1, and then you found a sum which is bigger than your previous sum, you stored this into temp sum. Okay, so let's say you have stored it, let me write it here. So right now your temp sum is what we can say, let's say it was 10, right? So here in this one you found like 5 like 5 plus 8 12 plus 1 13 something. Okay, so the 13 is greater than your 10, right? So you will update the sum. Okay, so now you have the maximum sum of 13. Now again in the nested for loop, what you will do, you will simply, guys, this thing is so annoying. you will simply you will run another loop, right? And then you will do the sum. Here, as you can see, we have the maximum sum. Okay, we can get the maximum sum. Okay, which will be basically greater than this one, this loop which we have run, right? So here we will get the sum of somewhere around like 18. Okay, so let me just quickly increase it, guys, so I can at least select it easily, because see, I'm not able to select it again. uh, okay, now this one is fine. Okay, yeah, now I can at least slide it comfortably, right? So now here, as you can see, here we got the sum 18, which is greater than 13. Okay, so we will update the sum to 18, right? Now we will move to the next loop. Okay, here we are getting the sum 13, which is not greater than 18, so we will simply not update it, and then again we'll run another loop. Here we got some somewhere around like 20, right? So 20 is greater than 18, so we will update the sum as 20. Okay, so this is the idea, like this is how we used to calculate the maximum sum of basically three numbers or whatever number we pass in the as an input. Okay, so with the help of for loop. But the problem here is, if you run a loop inside another loop, okay, first point, the time complexity will be O of n square, and second point, it will be not at all comfortable if you have a large data sets. Okay, if you have an array which contains like thousands of elements, okay, then running like nested for loop is not an optimal way to understand it, to basically solve it, right? Performance wise, it will be poor, right? Now let me tell you like how we can like do it with the help of sliding window. Okay, so now you can consider this thing as a window. Okay, in a sliding window, we basically run only, we basically iterate through the array or any data structure only once. Okay, and we basically create a window. What this window will do, we basically, let's say we have created a window and then we are running a first loop for three elements. So here is our first loop where we have three elements. Okay, we'll do the sum of these three numbers. Okay, and right now I'll not calculate it again and again, so I'll just keep it like sum. Okay, so here you got some x sum. Okay, and then what you will do, you will simply go into the next loop. And how you will go into the next loop, you simply whatever sum you have right now, from that sum you simply eliminate this second element like this, and you add the next element like this. Okay, so this way you don't have to calculate the sum over and over again. You simply plug out one element from the window and plug in one element in the window. Okay, so this way you don't have to do the calculation multiple times on every loop. Okay, you simply add one and simply remove one. Okay, now here we got some sum which is obviously greater than this one, so we update it to sum to sum 1. Okay, now what we will do, we want to check again in the further iterations, right? So what we will do, we'll simply plug out this 3 and we simply plug in this 1. Okay, so now the sum is not greater than the previous sum, so we'll not update anything, and then we'll simply plug out this 5, and then we'll simply plug in 1. Okay, so this is how our window moves, right, in the sliding window. And it can be in either direction, like it can be from left to right, right to left. It can like grow and it can shrink. Okay, and we will see an example of this with the help of coding, right? Now let's see how we can implement the same solution in the like naive approach, right, which I was discussing, like running in the nested for loop. Okay, so I hope you guys are clear with the what like sliding window is. Okay, and its time complexity is O of n, because we just iterate through the array or any data structure only once, right? Now we have a question like where what we have to do, like write a function sub array maxsum which accepts an array of integers. Okay, so basically we have to create a function which will accept an array of integers as a first parameter, and a number called r as a range. Okay, and in the another parameter we have to pass a range. Basically, like let's say we want to get the sum of two numbers. Okay, so in second parameter we have to pass a number, like how many elements sum we want. Okay, if we want the sum of three elements, then we will pass 3. If we want the sum of four elements, we will pass 4. Okay, so calculate the maximum sum of the consecutive elements in the array of range r. Okay, so r is going to be the range which will tell the function like how many element we want to get summed. Okay, what range of elements we want to get the maximum sum of, right? Okay, and then the elements should be consecutive, so we want the maximum sum of the consecutive numbers. Okay, we don't want the maximum sum from throughout the array. So let's say 5 plus 8 plus 5 plus 1, it is giving us the maximum sum. We don't want that. We want, I think you guys can see it, right? We want the sum of the consecutive numbers. So let's consider 2. Okay, this example, this one is best. So if you want to get a sum of two numbers, 8 plus 2, 10. Okay, then we'll store it in some variable, and then we will move on to the next iteration where we'll do 5 plus 2, which is smaller than 10. Okay, we'll ignore it, we'll move on to the next iteration. This one is also smaller than 10. We'll move on to the next iteration, and this one is smaller than 10, right? So we will return 10 at the end. Okay, and that is what this output is giving us. Okay, now let's say we have an array which contains the numbers which is less than the range which we have passed. Okay, so this is sort of edge case. Okay, so let's say you in the array you have just two elements or just one element, or it's an empty array. Okay, but you want the sum of four numbers. Are you going to get it? No, right? So in that case you have to return null, right? So now let's see a naive approach solution of it. Okay, so I think you guys can see it clearly. Let me expand it a little bit, or let me shrink it a little bit. Yeah, this will be fine, right? Okay, so now let's understand first like what this particular code is doing. Okay, so here we are accepting an array which is obviously the array of integers, and then it is going to be the range, right? Like how many numbers sum we want. Okay, now the first edge case which we have handled here is like if the range is greater than the array length, right? If we are passing a number which is more than the elements which we have in array, then we'll simply return null, right? So it is basically, I think, this condition. Okay, this particular condition. Now what we'll do, the largest sum will initially will store as minus infinity, right? Because we don't know like what could be the largest sum, because numbers could be from negative integers to positive integers, right? So we don't know like what we have to store in the largest sum. Okay, initial value. So we cannot store 0, right? Let's say you got the array which contains some negative numbers, only negative numbers. So in the negative numbers, if you add them, you will get the answer in negative number only, right? So that is going to be smaller than 0. So in that case your logic will fail, right? So that is why initially here we are storing it as like minus infinity. Okay, now we are running a loop, we are iterating through the array. Okay, we are basically subtracting the range from the array length, and then we are adding 1. Okay, so let's see what it will give us. So let's say you have an array which contains 2, 4, 3, and then we want the sum of we want the sum of two numbers. Okay, so array dot length, let's see what we are getting. We are getting 3. Okay, so we subtracted 2 and then we added plus 1. Okay, so as you can see, it is already giving us two elements, right? So array dot length is basically 0 base. So array is 0 base, but length will give us plus 1, right? So that is why what we are doing, we are basically shrinking it down to the range whatever we want. Okay, so here we want the range of two elements. Okay, so let's consider we have few more elements, 4 comma 5 comma 6, 4 comma 5 comma 6. Okay, so it will iterate through this. Okay, it will not like iterate through the complete array. Okay, why it will not iterate? Because inside of this for loop we are again running another for loop. Okay, which will sum up to the next four numbers. Okay, or two numbers or whatever numbers. Okay, so now uh, in this for loop we are basically creating a temp sum which is initially 0. Okay, and then we are adding basically I plus j of the current element. Okay, so I plus j is the position. Okay, so in the first for loop, let's say your first for loop is running at position 0 or 1. Let's consider 1. Okay, and your second for loop, which is the nested for loop, it is running at the position 4. Okay, so 1 plus 4 5. So it will sum up the array at position 5 to the temp sum. Okay, and then what we will do, we are simply storing it into the temp sum, right? And then we are simply comparing it, like if the temp sum is greater than the larger sum. Okay, if and only if it is greater than the larger sum, then only we are going to store it, we are going to update the value of the larger sum. Otherwise we are not going to change the value of the larger sum. Okay, so now I'll add a log. I'll quickly add few logs here. Okay, so we are going to see a lot of logs, so don't get confused, right? So let's log current value I. Okay, so first we will see what we are getting in the value of I, what iterations we are getting right now. In case if you didn't understood this, then by the console log you will understand it. Okay, for sure. So this one I'll stretch it a little bit. Okay, so we are going to see the log, right? So here let's pass some. Right now it is giving us minus infinity, that is what we have here. Okay, so now let's take an example of this particular thing. Okay, now I'll go back to here because we are simply going to see the console log of the I, right? So if I hit it, okay, so 0 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 5, we have 5 elements, so it iterated for only 4 iterations. Okay, which is fine. So let's try to increase the value of range. Let's try to increase the range. Let's see what happens. 3. Okay, so right now it is iterating for 0 1 2 0 1 2. Okay, it is not going for the last two elements. Okay, let's try to increase the window again. Let's say I want the range sum of 4 numbers. Okay, so what it will do, it will iterate through this array twice only. And why? First loop will run for these 4 elements, second loop will run for these 4 elements. Okay, we cannot go outside of the array, right? So we cannot simply go 5 2 1 and undefined, right? 2 1 undefined and undefined, we cannot go like that, right? So we have to restrict the loop at some point, right, if we are passing some range. So that is what this logic is for. I hope you guys understood it, like why this thing is written. Okay, now let's see what we are getting. R, obviously we are getting 4 or 2 something only. So let's see what I plus I is and what is j, and then what is I plus j at position like array, right? So let's loop it. It is going to be a lot of loops because like it is nested one, right? So let's quickly see it. So first we are going to see I value. Okay, I, and then j value, which is j, and then I plus j we are going to see, and then what we are going to see, array at position I plus j, right? So we are basically experimenting this naive approach, right? If you understood this one, then obviously you're gonna catch way too quickly the optimized code, right? So that is why I'm adding the console logs in this one, so that you guys can understand this one clearly. Because if you don't understand the naive approach, then you can't implement the optimized one, right? If you don't know like basic steps of how to ride a cycle, then you cannot ride motorcycle, right? That's the point. So that is why we are understanding this naive approach first here. Okay, array at position I, and then temp sum also we will see, right? Let's see. Okay, so now I'll again, we have all the things here like I am looping, j am looping, I plus j am looping, array at position I plus j am looping, and temp sum I am looping. Okay, or actually let's log it before this code. Okay, otherwise the temp sum will get added into this, and like you guys will get confused, right? What's going on here. So let's use the same thing. I'll pass like 1 2 3 4 5 elements. So be ready to get a lot of logs here. Okay, so yeah, hopefully I passed just 4, right? So it will iterate through just 2 loops. And if you see in the parent loop, we are getting just 2 loops, right? But in the child, we are getting 4 loops for every loop, every parent loop, right? That is why we call it like O of n square, right? Because we are running 2 nested for loops. Okay, so the first loop, in the first loop, it ran for like 4 iterations. Okay, now let's see. um, okay, I think you guys can see it now, right? So let me quickly shrink it a little bit, or yeah, this one will be fine. Okay, this one will be fine, right? So yeah, now what we have here, we have I value which is 0, we have j value which is obviously 0 in the first iteration, we have I plus j. Okay, so 0 plus 0, it is going to be 0 only. Array at position I plus j, we are getting 8. Means array at position 0, we are getting 8. Okay, so temp sum is 0. In the second iteration in the first for loop, okay, second iteration in the first loop, we are getting 0. The second nested loop will run in the next iteration. So index we are getting 1. Okay, and then 1 second, I actually lost the track, right? Yeah, okay, j. So i's value is 0, obviously this is the first loop. J's value is 1, so I plus j will be 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. Array at position 1 is 2, right? So we are getting temp sum 8. So we'll store it in the temp sum. Okay, and then we'll update the value of temp sum. Temp sum plus equals to array at position I plus j, which is 8. Okay, so it will be something like if the temp sum in the previous iteration of this is 0, then in 0 we have added 8. Okay, so right now in the second iteration, see here we are getting the temp sum as 0, right? So in this one we have added 8. 0 plus 8, it will be 8. So the next iteration we are getting 8, right? And the sum of this one will be 2, right? So 8 plus 2 basically, right? So what we can do, we can basically log another thing, final temp sum. Then you will get the idea like how it is summing up all the numbers in one particular window, right? So okay, and here I'll simply log this temp sum. Okay, now if I run it, let's remove these two things. Okay, so now you will see everything clearly, right? So in the first iteration, in the first for loop, this is the log which we are getting. Okay, let me add another log. Actually, apologize for this, guys, but I want you guys to see everything clearly, right? So I'll do a nice separation here, which will help you guys see what is happening in every loop. Okay. Okay, now it is quite visible for you guys, right? So this is the first loop. Here in the first iteration, in the nested first iteration, we are getting like a value of I is 0, value of j is 0. So 0 plus 0, I plus j, this one is going to be 0. And then array at position 0 we have 8, right, which is this one. So temp sum is 0, final sum will be 0 plus 8, right, which is basically this particular code. Okay, now we are looping to the next iteration, next nested iteration, right, because this the parent loop is 1 0, right. So now in the next iteration, this is the next one. So here the value index of j will be 1, I plus j, 0 plus 1 will be 1, and then array at position 1 we have stored is 2, right, array at position 1 we have 2. Okay, so current sum which we were getting is 8, right, so 2 plus 8 we will get 10. Okay, so this way we will keep in the second for loop we'll basically sum all the next 4 numbers or next 3 numbers. Okay, and then we'll update the temp sum, and then we compare it basically with the sum sum which we have outside the nested for loop, right, outside the for loop, like outside the loops, right. So if the sum is greater than the larger sum, then we update it. Okay, so the updation logic is written here. So if the temp sum which we have here, let me show you what is the final like thing I'm getting here. So here 9, final temp sum is 10, because here we were getting 1 9 7 7 plus 2 9. Okay, this and this and this 0 plus 2. Okay, so as you can see, this is the first for loop, right, this is the first for loop iterations where I index value is 0. Okay, and in the first iteration in the nested for loop we got a final temp sum of 17. Okay, so which is obviously greater than the largest sum, so we have updated it. Okay, now in the second for loop, so now the parent loop's index is 1. Okay, so basically this outer loop is running in the second iteration. Okay, so now the index is 1, so in this second iteration again it will run for 4 times, right. So here if we find the sum which is greater than 17, see, for every iteration we are just getting like 2 7 9 10 something. Okay, which is not at all greater than 17, so at the end we have returned 17. Okay, if the temp sum which we have in the loops is greater than largest sum, then only we are going to update the temp sum in the largest sum, otherwise we will not do anything and we will simply return the largest sum. Okay, so this is how the sliding window works basically in the naive approach. Okay, so I hope you guys are clear, and if you still didn't clear, you guys can watch this piece of video like multiple times to understand it completely, right. So what I will do basically, uh, I'll basically separate it out, right, parent loop, and then here I'll write child loop start, and here okay, I think yeah, child loop start, child loop iteration. Okay, so this is basically every iteration of the child loop, and this is the parent loop. Okay, so here I'll add another loop console log here. Okay, so parent loop end. Okay, so this way what will happen now, let me show you. So this way you will easily identify which is parent loop where it is starting, and which is child loop and where it is starting. Okay, if I expand it, So don't worry about the numbers, we just want to see the console log logs, right? So here parent loop is starting, and then child loop is running, child loop is running, child loop is running, child loop is running, and then here somewhere parent loop ended. Okay, so this one block is one parent loop, right? And then again a parent loop started. Here child loops are running. This is first loop basically. This is this whole thing is first loop, and then second child loop, and then third child loop, and then fourth child loop. Okay, and then the parent loop stopped. Okay, so this way uh, like you can understand better like how this thing is working. Okay, so now I'll attach basically this code in the description of the video, so make sure to like click on that link and run it in your machine, okay, to understand it 100%. Okay, so yeah, this is sliding window with the naive approach. Now let's quickly see the optimized version of it. Okay, so time complexity is O of n square obviously. So now let's quickly see the optimized version of it. Apologize guys, this video is going pretty long, but we have to discuss it in detail, right? So here is like the optimized version, where again we are checking if the range is greater than array.length, we are simply returning null. Okay, otherwise what we are doing, largest sum and temp sum, we are initially starting with 0. Okay, if you want you can store minus infinity, is up to you, you can manipulate it. Okay, yeah, now we are running just one loop. Okay, so in first loop we will basically sum all the elements in the array if it is smaller than the range, right? We'll run the first loop only uh, before the array ends on the range, right? Ends on the window. So let's say we have a range of 3 elements or 4 elements. Okay, so here sorry, let me expand it for a minute. So here let's say we have a range of like we want to get sum of 3 elements. So we'll run this loop, we'll run this loop, we'll run this loop, we will run this loop, and then we will run this loop, we will run sorry guys, so I need to pull it together. Okay, I don't know why I'm unable to select it. This is annoying. Okay, so we'll run this loop, this one, this one basically, these 3 numbers, and then this loop, and then this loop. We'll stop here, right? We cannot go like 3 8 and then some undefined number, 8 and then some undefined number, and then outside of the like array range completely. We cannot go outside of the array, right? We have to restrict it somewhere. That is why we will only run it till the iteration, the current index is smaller than the range. Okay, so I hope this is clear now. Okay, and then we'll sum up all the numbers and we will see, we will store it basically in the largest sum, and then we'll store it in the temp sum as well. Okay, so we'll consider like this is the largest sum and we are storing it in the temp sum. Okay, now in the second for loop, I know here also we have another for loop, but they are at the same level. Okay, this thing you guys have to keep in mind. So they are going to run like parallelly. Okay, so the time complexity will be O of n, it's not going to be O of n square. Okay, I hope you guys are clear by now, because I have already discussed about like why it is O of n. Okay, because these loops are running parallelly, they are not running one inside another. Okay, now in the second iteration, let's see quickly. We are getting j, which which will start from the range r. Okay, so basically if you are passing okay, let's understand this first. If you are passing the range of let's say 2, okay, then it will, this second for loop will start from second index onwards. Okay, it will not start from the 0th index 0 1 2, it will start from the 2 3 4 5 then for 5 6 7 and then 6 7 8 and then so and so. Okay, so it will be something like this. Quickly let's see, if the first loop is starting from here, then the second loop will start from here, here somewhere. Okay, so let me quickly gather these numbers together, this is so annoying guys. Okay, so let's say we have the index like let's say we have a range of 2, right? So it will start running from the range 2, okay, 0 1 2. So it will start running from here and then here and then here and then here, okay. So this way it will run. Now in second loop, what we are basically doing, we are plugging out one element and then we are plugging in one element, okay. So unlike the naive approach where we were doing the nested for loops and in every loop we are summing all the numbers together, what we are doing here, we are simply plugging out one number and then we are plugging in one number, okay. So this is the code of that. If you want to understand it better, you simply log the values at each step what you are getting, okay. So here we will get the temp sum. So it is basically something like let me show you that quickly. So if we got a sum here, like let's say 5 8 to 10, right? So we got 10. So what we will do, we will simply plug out 2 and we will insert 8, okay. And the same we will do in the next iteration. We will simply plug out 3, we'll insert 1, okay. So this way we don't have to calculate everything like every time, right? So we already have a sum. In that sum we are just subtracting one small number and we are adding one small number, okay. So this is basically the trick, this is basically the idea, okay. And then we are finding the maximum number of those two numbers, okay. We already have that largest sum is stored here. We are finding the maximum number from the largest sum and the temp sum, and we are updating the largest sum accordingly. Let's say if the temp sum is largest, then it will get stored into the largest sum. If the largest sum is larger, then it will get stored basically into this one, okay. And then we are returning this at the end, the largest sum at the end. So now let's see this sub array sum by running it in the console quickly, okay. So I hope you guys are clear now, like what sliding window is and how we can write it. And obviously you will understand it 100% only when you write these two examples by your own, okay. And if you write console logs at each step, then only you will understand it completely. So take your time, add the logs, experiment with it, check all these steps, and then you will understand how the sliding window works, okay. So now as you can see, let's say where is the example, okay. So this is the example, right? So in the first one we are getting the largest sum of numbers as 17, okay. We want the pair of 4 numbers whose largest sum is 17. So who want the basically pair of 4 numbers who have the largest sum, okay. So the sliding window ran and it found that in one particular window, it found that this particular window have the largest sum. It got stored into the largest sum variable and then it never got updated, okay. So let's change it to 2, okay. So for the 2 elements we are getting the largest sum as 10. So let's see what are those 2 elements. 5 plus 1, no. 8 plus 1, 9, okay. 8 plus 2, 10, okay. So far 10 is the greatest number, right? Now 2 plus 5, no, it's not greater, right? 7 it is. So 5 plus 2, again it is smaller, and 2 plus 1, again it is smaller, okay. So now 10 is the largest number, so we got 10 at the end, okay. Let's try this one. Let's clear it, okay. So we wanted to get the sum of 3 numbers, we are getting 15. So 5 plus 8 plus 1, 14, 8 plus 2 plus 1, like 11, and then 5 plus 8 plus 2, which is 15. So we got 15 here, and then 5 plus 2 plus 2, 9, which is more than 15. Then 5 plus 2 plus 1, okay, which is 8, which is basically smaller than 15. So we got 15 at the end, okay. Now I think you guys are clear how this is working. So let's try the edge case one, which should return null, right? This is a quite simple one because it will simply match. If the range is greater than the length of the array, then it will simply return null, right? So even if I don't pass anything in the array, then also I'll get null here, okay. It will return the value only and only if I pass the range which is greater than the this is the length which is greater than the range. Okay, then only I will get the number like this. Okay, so yeah, this lecture is going quite long, so I'll stop it here. So this is what like we call sliding window in a nutshell, and this example you can practice. And in next video, I'll come up with another example which will be quite interesting. So this is it for this lecture, guys. See you in the next one.